All right, we'll call to order our Gladstone Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 18th at 6:32 p.m. The City of Gladstone is abiding by guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires the governing body of the public body to extend reasonably possible to make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and provide opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony during meetings to extend in-person oral and written testimony is allowed. Therefore, this meeting will be open to public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. Our agenda tonight is roll call, flag salute, and the amended agenda tonight will also include the election of chair and vice chair, review and approval of our consent agenda, and then our regular agenda, which is our monthly planning report and our work session of our continued discussion of our food cards, business from the Planning Commission, and adjournment.
I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Commissioner Volbada.
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Busick.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Graw.
Here.
Commissioner Brennan.
Here.
Thank you. Flag salute, please.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, onwards. We did just receive resignation from Chair Natalie Smith. As she was our acting chair, we need to hold a special elections for our chair and vice chair.
Do we have a motion? Or excuse me, yes, a motion. Does anyone would like to make a motion?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Volbada for the chair role. I think you've served as vice chair for a while, and I think you'd make a great chair.
Second.
Any other nominations? If not, I will do a roll call. Commissioner Brennan.
Yes.
Commissioner Graw.
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Busick.
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
Yes.
Commissioner Volbada.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll have you move over. We'll bring you on over here. Hello.
Welcome.
All right, vice chair, are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Weiss, please.
I would second that also.
I would be interested in hearing anyone from the east side of the table if they're interested. It's a great opportunity to freshen up on Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Any other nominations? Okay, if not, Commissioner Brennan.
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yes.
Commissioner Busick.
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
Abstain.
And Chair Volbada.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Anything else for that, or can we move on to our consent agenda?
We can move on.
Great. All these items listed below are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a commission member or person in the audience requests specific items be removed from the consent agenda for discussion prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to adopt the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the June 16th, 2026 regular meeting minutes?
Yes.
Second.
Great. Bear with me.
I'm sorry, we had a first, I'm sorry.
Music and second by
Thank you.
Weiss.
Okay, Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Commissioner McGraw,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Busick,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Chair Volbada.
Yes. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to our regular agenda, item number 2, monthly planning report, June and July 2026.
Thank you, Chair Volbada. The planning reports are in there for your reference as far as how many building permits and customer service contacts we had. July was a little bit slower due to just me being on vacation. We did have coverage by a colleague in my office, so things were still moving along, just not as much going on as far as daily planning tasks. I did want to note, and this will be in your next month's packet, that we did last week have a pre-application meeting with the folks in agreement to purchase the old library site. So that's moving forward. It's a tap room space with like a lot of indoor recreation space. And then right now they're showing a food cart pod in the parking lot, a food cart, 1 unit in the parking lot, but they're considering an indoor commercial kitchen and doing food inside as well. So they haven't made final decisions about that, but it's kind of exciting that project's moving along. Any
And-
questions about either of the planning reports?
You said as well, that's not instead. A food cart outside and a commercial kitchen.
They're
inside?
going to choose one or the other.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I think with like getting them both set up through the county for the health department and then SDC fees and things like that, they're trying to decide which one makes more sense for their site. No questions?
No questions? Great. Thank you. Now we move on to our regular agenda item number 3, work session, our continued discussion of food carts, individual and pods, policy code updates, policies and development code, updates to address individual and pod food cart developments in the city. Do I need to open this, or given it's a work session, we are good to move into?
You're good to move into.
All
You don't
right.
need any kind of formal
Great.
motion for that. Okay, so we did discuss food carts back in June, and you all had a lot of great feedback for what types of food carts that you've been to that you think have good elements and what you'd like to see in food cart pods. Here in the city, we talked about there being a difference between the Old Town versus McLaughlin, and what we currently do. We didn't provide previously the transient merchant code. That's municipal code section 5.32. So currently we either have a code that says you can come in for the day, sell food or goods, and then move your vehicle or trailer out. The other option we have currently is a full design review approval if someone comes in and gets approval to do that. So what we're looking for is something in between. And the peer cities that we looked at didn't have any kind of planning commission level review, design review type thing, but they had clear standards so that when one did come in, it was a quick staff level review, but could be sure to make all those standards met. And interestingly, in preparing for the pre-app that we had last week, I did review the downtown core standards again, and food trucks, like just 1 unit, are permitted outright without design review in the downtown. So that was explicitly placed in that code so that that could incubate those smaller restaurant businesses. So for the pre-app that we held last week, because all of the changes to the site are internal to the building, and then potentially the addition of a food truck in the Old Town downtown core overlay, it's unlikely that we'll come to design review to come to the Planning Commission. There is one request by the Public Works Department that they have a site safety analysis by a traffic engineer to make sure that the turning out of the parking lot is safe and that nothing needs to happen with the tree or the parked cars on the street to make it safer for cars to get in and out. There is a clear vision provision in our code that says if the traffic engineer says it's not safe, they could come to the Planning Commission and have an approval through there. So there's a small possibility you might have some role in that project, but it would be reviewing the traffic study report rather than the design of the structure, which won't change. So back to our food cart pods. We wanted to make sure, based on the discussion we had in June, that we addressed weather protection, some sort of seating, potentially lighting, restrooms. We prefer flushable toilets, but porta potties are okay if they're spaced from residential zones. Make sure that we have appropriate trash receptacles, bicycle parking, vehicle parking where we can have it is nice. Pedestrian and vehicle circulation and access, and safety and nuisance mitigation, making sure that these are easy to see from the street, that the utility connections and generator sound are limited. So I went ahead and put together code into the downtown core overlay district that would be specific to the C2 zoned properties that are within that zoning district, so along Portland Avenue specifically. Thinking that if we wanted to make it broadly applicable on all C2 properties, we could do that, or we could modify somewhat for the C3 properties if we want some lesser food cart pod standard along McLaughlin. But if it works for everyone, we can start with this language, and then timeline wise, we have this scheduled to come to public hearing with you in October. So whatever we decide tonight, as far as like which zones we really want it to touch, and if we think that there's maybe some changes to the transient merchant code we'd like to see or something like that, which that wouldn't necessarily come to you for recommendation since we kind of live in Title 17, but we at least make the recommendation or have the discussion. We would have that opportunity to do that in September before we need to have this ready for going to hearing in October. So if it works with everyone, we'll just go to the first section, which is packet page 3-5, PDF page 19 out of 30. And currently, the code allows mobile vending units. They say that that's a vehicle that is used in selling and dispensing of goods and services. So to me, a mobile vending unit could be a food cart. It could be somebody coming in and out, but it could be something that you're leaving there overnight. It just has to remain available to be moved out of sight. So this is really keeping it pretty flexible for people to incubate their business, but also saying like it could be moved out if it needed to be. I wanted to be a little more specific about what a mobile vending unit was versus what a food cart was, and if we wanted to have specific standards for food carts. So I kind of see it as 3 tiers. The first tier is like the mobile vending that can come in, can go, or it's like a business on Portland Avenue says, I think for the next like 18 months, I want to have this food truck on my site. So I'm not going to connect it to utilities. I'm not going to bring in power. I'm going to do whatever. So this would be where maybe there's a generator, maybe there's a propane tank. It's all contained. It's all approved by the county and the fire department. But it's not meeting like our permanent rules. And then the next step would be, I want a food cart that's like part of my site. I'm going to hook it up to utilities. It's going to be here 3 to 5 years or more. I really want to invest in it, make sure that it's part of this property. And so that's where we come in with requiring the electrical connection. So I guess starting with the first question about the mobile vending unit. So the kind of breezy, easy to do, bring it in, but maybe it's not a permanent fixture. We'll make sure that they have a Gladstone business license, which requires them to have that transient merchant license. And I believe that gets checked against Clackamas County Sanitation, having a health permit to operate a business for food as well. Is there any other Do you like that approach to have the 3 tiers? And are there more things that we should be focused on with the first tier, the like easy, not forever, but let's just allow these to come in? Do you want a time limit on these? Should they be no more than 5 years if they're not a permanent fixture of the site? What sounds good?
Does the first tier include things like Max Patterson Park over there when they're doing our city celebration?
This would just be on C2 properties right now.
C2 being,
Oh, sorry,
Revenue?
commercial, our commercially zoned properties. So
Okay.
Max Patterson would be zoned open space. So it would still stay in that transient merchant area.
okay,
Yeah. So anything that's in the downtown core overlay, so everything we're talking about here would be on a commercially zoned piece of property. And I think that was the goal, is to really focus our food carts in commercially zoned properties, but then still allow those special events on the open space properties for when they're occurring.
okay.
But we wouldn't anticipate seeing like someone coming to the city and getting permission to keep a food cart on Max Patterson all year round or something. That wouldn't be permitted by
Right.
this. Yeah.
We're saying on road, like the ice cream truck or a permitted use on the street for the Gladstone Community Festival would be in the merchant, not in this mobile vending unit. Right?
Yes, they could be a mobile vending unit if they do like park on the park for the length of the, I think we do issue those permits for the vendors who are seated there for the 4-day community festival or things like that.
Question about the coffee drive-through over here on Portland Avenue. Is they do sell minor food. Is that part of a food cart
Yeah,
regulation?
that is a really great question. I have a note right here that says drive-through.
Yeah.
We haven't addressed it. It isn't addressed in other people's food cart codes. I think a lot of cities punt that out as a different thing because a drive-through has different implications for the way a site is used. So I think
But they do have picnic tables and they do
Yeah.
expect you to stop possibly.
Totally. Yeah. So if a new one of those came in, would we consider that a food cart, a mobile vending unit? That's a great question. Would we allow another drive-through? The thing about the drive-through is because of the impact to the roadway system and it's crossing, have cars on the site crossing where pedestrians are. That typically in other cities, the way they're handling that is calling that a design review. But anything with a drive-through wouldn't qualify as a mobile vending unit or a food truck or a food truck pod.
For example, I'm sure they don't have bathroom facilities or hooked up to a sewer or anything, I assume.
I'm not sure about their utilities. I haven't seen a restroom there. I haven't actually
No,
visited the
there
site, but
isn't.
I've definitely driven through.
I don't have anything against that.
driven
It's
by.
just, I don't have anything against that being there by any means. I support it.
Yeah,
I do have a good walkthrough group that goes there and you don't have to especially drive through.
Yeah, I think
Right.
if one came in and said, I want to do a new coffee cart that isn't already approved somewhere in the city, we would say, great, we're going to do a design review with the planning commission. We're going to make sure that your traffic circulation is safe, that you have your pedestrian areas separate from your vehicle areas.
Yes.
So I think that's how this code is written, to not include drive-throughs, and we could be more explicit about that and say, this does not apply to businesses with a drive-through. Because I think that is where you start getting into some pieces that might need further scrutiny. If we do put it into full design review, it does then require meeting our landscaping standards and meeting our pedestrian access standards and things like that. So we could, as part of this project or even separate, we could think about just businesses with drive-throughs separately, and if we want to change any standards related to that. Or we can say our focus, especially on Portland Avenue, which is what this code in front of us is to decrease the vehicle presence and increase the walkability and the bikeability, and say we're not really looking to put a lot more drive-through businesses in this area. So we're focused on not doing that.
But again, being sympathetic to the cart people or the pod people, there's hardly I don't know of a drive-through coffee place that doesn't serve some kind of food.
Yeah,
So some kind of food is not much different than having,
I agree. I think the difference is the drive-through. So we say those are different. If you have a drive-through, we're focused on the ones without a drive-through. So we're focused on the Arlington tap room type ones, or the Heist type ones, or you know, those that don't have a vehicle going through the site.
okay,
But anything that's in the city right now is still approved, even if it wouldn't meet our design review standards right now. It's pre-existing non-conforming, unless it has been placed there in the recent past, and we are addressing that from a code enforcement situation, which does happen as well.
Do we have a separate code section that specifically covers drive-throughs?
We don't.
Okay.
And some cities do and some cities don't.
Can you refresh my memory on where the downtown core overlay district?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. So it is all of the C2 properties along Portland Avenue from the community center all the way to the river. And then when you get to Clarendon, I believe, or Dartmouth, it goes east and west, and it extends to 82nd and to McLaughlin. So it makes a T.
Okay.
Is it Clarendon, or I'll look it up. I think that the line is Dartmouth. I should have provided that in your packet. You can keep asking questions. I'll just pull it out of my files here.
I think my one question kind of related to this is knowing that it's totally self-contained, but if you think about it staying on the site for 18 months or something, how can you control the impact that it might have on the sewer? Where maybe it's just, you almost have to like, if that, I don't know if that is a bad thing or not, but let's say then they take a hose and they just run a hose somewhere for drainage and stuff. So it could technically be self-contained, but.
So having some sort of language around no dumping on site or something like that.
I think so. I think if that would be a consideration, probably you'd want to call that out.
We've got SDCs involved in this too, though, right?
We do. And we provided that in the packet. It was about $100,000 for the Arlington tap room. They do have a building that has restrooms, and then it included each of the 4 food carts as well. But there's pretty good SDCs associated.
So that should cover, other than obviously like illegal dumping, right?
Right. If you're hooking to the utilities, you're going to be doing that.
Yeah,
I think not,
so.
Then we don't want you dumping on site and using our utilities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or I think it'd be covered, but just maybe a call out.
Yeah. That's always helpful to our code enforcement officer if we call things out, like we don't intend for this to be drive-through. We don't intend to this. I mean, that wouldn't be her thing, but we don't intend for this to be any kind of waste disposal on site.
And remind me, so the SDCs, that's going to be site specific. So that's going to be the one developer landowner that is sending in their plans for this food cart pod. That's going to be site specific, not vendor specific.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then a vendor could move out and anyone could move in, and there wouldn't be additional SDCs.
Yep.
Unless perhaps like there's now a double cart that connects twice or something, then we would relook at that. But one spot is one spot and anyone can be in or out. SDCs go with the land. Other questions? I almost have this open so I can tell you which street this crosses over. Let's see. We should, Tammy, we should put that map on our website. I'll make a note of it, but I'll provide it to Haley maybe and ask for it to be added to our mapping.
You want to put up on the screen?
Oh, that's okay. I'll just because I'm not sure where it is.
I think we've discussed this before, if I recall, but the food cart that is on the property of what used to be the old lawnmower shop up on McLaughlin. Mexican food, I believe.
Oh yes, the birria stand. Yes.
What do you call it?
Birria. It is Mexican food. Yes.
Okay. That's outside of the city or it's in?
No, that's in the city,
I
and
thought
that is the one, and they have an outdoor seating area.
Yes.
So that is the one that there's been a food cart there before. But there's been some, I think they had a food cart and then they replaced it with another food cart. It used to be Soul Foods Korean.
Yes.
And are you talking about the one at McLaughlin Market? Is that the one you're talking about, or are you talking further north?
The one across the street from Biscuits, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
outside city
Oh,
limits.
I was
Oh, I'm
wondering
sorry.
about
I
that.
was talking about something different.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a visible bathroom or anything. I don't know what their arrangement is with the company there.
But yes, that one is
But-
north, so that would be part of the unincorporated Clackamas County
Okay.
area.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. That's Jennings Lodge, I assume.
Which is unincorporated Clackamas County. So Clackamas Planning Department would have the standards for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I found an early version, but not the finals. Oh, here we go. I've got it. Okay. It is really small. Just 1 second. It's Berkeley. The northern boundary is actually Berkeley of the town center. So I could share this with you, Tammy, but I think I'll just bring it over. So this is the community center. So it's all of the C2 property along Portland Avenue. And then at Berkeley, it stretches to McLaughlin, along the river to 82nd, and then back along Berkeley. So it has C2 property, north, south, and then a little bit of C3 on both ends, both on 82nd and McLaughlin, and then some R5.
Okay.
Online so that
Yeah.
we make
Yeah.
sure that people can get it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to thank somebody, I guess, for the yellow highlighted part of this, of our agenda here and who made this. You did?
Yes. Oh, yes. Highlighting
Thank
the
you, Heather.
changes. Yes.
Okay.
Try to make it easy to see what possible changes we're making so that we know
Right.
what we're talking about. Although, I think a lot of you commissioners read all of it. And if you see other things that we need to talk about, we can do that. But I try to do the yellow highlight so that it's obvious. So if we end up doing no dumping on site of wastewater, gray water, we'll figure out how to word that. But we do have this mobile vending unit that's already permitted, and we just clarify the language that you need a permit and that you can go ahead and do that. Do you feel like there should be a duration limit on those, or is it kind of like, let's just let businesses keep those as long as they need until their plan works for their property? So right now it's unlimited. Someone could come in and plop it down and
I feel like so long as they have an approved permit and it is able to be moved,
Mhm.
if the people who own their property want them to be there, they should have permission to have them
okay, great.
personally.
Currently on merchant.
I would agree with that.
Go
Mhm.
at the park or the ice cream vendors, that type of thing. They're not allowed to stay overnight on property.
Right.
They have to be mobile back and forth. They can't stay.
So we'd want to revise our transient merchant permit to allow these more kind of longer term uses. And I think we're open to that. Staff had told me that, you know, if we see 5.32 updates for the transient merchant permit that would make things a little more clear, we could do that. So maybe it's, you know, if you're located in, and maybe it is the downtown core overlay, but if we open it to all C2 properties in the city or all commercially zoned properties in the city, that you can get this provision met.
How long are the permits good for? At a time?
The transient merchant, are they good for a year?
They are good. You
Okay.
can, individuals can buy one for a day, a week, or a year.
Oh,
I'm just wondering if there's a mechanism after a couple renewals to review the if we approve this as is, someone could park on one of the front lawns of the downtown core, and it's allowed outright. And there's no end in sight. And I don't know. I'm just wondering if our intention is to give some room to grow a business, then it seems logical that we'd put some sort of timeline on that. But if it's just to bring more businesses into the city, then taking a more liberal approach with it also makes sense.
I mean, maybe the timeline is just, it's a regular renewal of their license or something, where there is wording in there saying that there's potential that it wouldn't get renewed.
I think to the point of the front lawns too, that's a really good point. We could write that it must be on a hard surface too, to make sure that we're not seeing them on lawns.
I think that makes sense for erosion aspects as well.
Yeah,
Hard surface and not the street.
right. This would be on property.
Not a right of way.
right.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, right away would be totally different. I think the transient merchant, they're allowed to park on the right of way. But those are that must move out by the end of the day. We can't
Right.
park something in the right of way and then keep it there.
And then also just maybe for the sake of being obvious that, because they could say it's mobile, but then build on a front porch or something, where it's like no added structure.
Could we make that part of the annual renewal? They have to drive around the block.
It has to drive around the block. We certainly could, or we could just do a visual inspection and say, ooh, there's a porch attached here. We can't renew until you make this mobile.
That seems easier.
Less fun.
Okay, so that's our sort of like self-contained, you're not hooking up. And that's the other thing. I think at some point that runs its lifetime too, that people are like, oh, you know, I do want to hook to utilities. I've been here long enough, or I do want to do something different. But now if we switch our thinking to a food cart, so someone wants to just like potentially this library site, if they said, you know what, we do want a food cart and we do want it hooked to utilities because converting the old library into a commercial hood is so expensive to do the infrastructure of the building for that. This is going to be our business model. It's going to be a building with a food cart outside, but we're going to hook to all utilities. So in that way, we do follow Beaverton's code example that talks about electrical connection. And this comment came up, should generators be permitted if this is a food cart on a site? Or now should we say generators, if you have a generator, you're a mobile vending unit, you're not a food cart that's more permanent. And then just before the meeting, the mayor asked, what about propane or gas? Like, can you have a tank attached and that be your permanent way of cooking too? Or is that something we should be considering? And perhaps that is permitted, and then we make sure that it has Clackamas County, Clackamas Fire Department approval to do that. And then the third piece, I ran this by everyone I could think of before this meeting from the Public Works Department was we have a lot of above ground electrical power in downtown. So does it make sense to require underground? Because if the business already has above ground, are we going to require them to underground from the building, or can they just run a line from their structure to the food cart? So those are the policy questions. How, and I guess the thinking is how permanent and how kind of expensive do we want it to be when we take this next step?
I do feel like I mean, I would love it to all be underground, but it
Mhm.
does seem for a food cart very cost prohibitive.
Mhm.
I mean, for a new development like the old library site, that makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
But if it's just a food cart coming in to an existing property, that seems like it could be really, it could make or break them doing that.
General agreement to take out underground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about currently it says that a food cart cannot have a generator. What do you think about that? If it has a generator, it's a mobile vending unit.
I was just thinking some of the surrounding ones. Isn't there one that has a generator at the new one that opened up, the 1857 in Milwaukee? I feel like I remember there being one.
I haven't been there yet.
It's
Should
really
have gone.
fun.
I should have gone for
Like
research.
how common that is,
Mhm.
because I have no idea.
I don't remember seeing or hearing one down in Oregon City. I feel like given that there's a requirement of connecting to given utilities, there's less of a requirement, but I guess I'm not sure how, if we're like limiting, who
Yeah.
can come in.
What we can, that just made me think I could also reach out to some of the operators of a few of the pods and say, like, how common is this? And
That would be
add
great.
to our
Yeah, that'd
next
be helpful.
meeting.
Yeah.
I want to say that generators in general have improved a whole lot in the
Yes.
last 10 years.
I agree.
It doesn't have to sound like a lawnmower going all the time.
Right.
You could throw a decibel level on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great thought.
Yeah.
I don't know what decibel that'd be. We'd
Yeah.
have to talk to someone who maybe sells generators or whatever.
I'll dig into that topic a little bit more. How about the propane?
I would be willing to provide feedback on that also at some point.
Oh, great.
Sure.
Okay. How about if I find the information, I can send it your way and
Okay.
get your feedback? And then how about propane or gas?
I think that's more common, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's typically
Yeah.
propane tanks attached to it.
And I think that has more to do with the cooking instruments.
Cooking,
and
yes.
Safety than it does with permanency.
Yeah, I'd say with the safety, as long as they have the safety checks.
Got it.
I mean, Oregon City has like giant propane tanks all over.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. We'll go ahead and add that in. And we'll allow the overhead power, and then we'll do a little more research on the generator with the decibel level and run that by Commissioner Brennan for some feedback. Okay, great. And then, so that's electrical on,
And just one question.
yeah.
Any utilities in like the right of way or like any kind of utility easement will be underground?
Yeah, so generally in the downtown, I keep saying old town, the downtown core overlay, we don't require that front public utility easement because we have the zero setback line. So yes, utilities are generally expected to be in the right of way once they connect into the public system.
Okay.
Yep. And it's years in the making and will be years before I think it's fully realized, but the city is doing some overhauling of Portland Avenue and those sidewalks and things. So, and some utility work as well. So it would connect to those utilities in the right of way. For water supply, we talk about a food cart. So now that would be connected to potable water instead of having any kind of tank. The tank you could do if you're doing the mobile vending unit. The other thing I note here is that a mobile vending unit is one. So you can't like put 6 mobile vending units on a site and develop your site that way. When you're ready to go to the second one, then it's like make it a permanent food cart pod at that point, or choose something else to do with your property is how this is written right now. If you'd like to allow 2 or something different, we can do that, but I have it as one, kind of an incubation type thing.
I think that makes sense.
Is a garden hose potable water?
It would be in an approved manner. So let's see.
I read this
Connect
as some kind of a permanent hookup. But
yeah,
but in the case of food carts that are temporary,
you couldn't run the hose across the surface
right,
of the
for
ground.
tripping,
So
for tripping, but
yeah.
I know
So you're saying, could you bury a hose?
not really.
I don't know that you could do that for backflow.
Right.
prevention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
So
know
this
that
would
that-
not allow that
Yeah.
because you wouldn't be able to meet the backflow requirements.
Right.
Yeah, so this is requiring, it says you can do the cart must connect to approved above ground or in cart potable water tanks to supply fresh water to the cart. Or above ground or in cart consistent. I thought we said, or a plumbing permit, the potable water supply should be approved fixture. It does say water supply shall be an approved potable water hose with a quick disconnect type connection. This is from the Beaverton code. So I'm just.
You can put a backflow preventer device on a garden hose from the way I look at this.
Yeah. So this is allowing tanks, but not allowing the piping to cross.
Well, it says the potable water supply shall be by an approved fixture such as a yard hydrant or hose bib with an approved backflow device.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So we could require connection to city water, or could allow the above ground tanks or in cart tanks. Beaverton allows this. They allow you to use the tanks for your food carts. And maybe that's where we make a distinction. We have some distinctions between design of the pod, but maybe if you're doing one food cart, you're allowed to do this tank type system. But when you do a pod, we now would like you to connect to city water. Maybe that becomes the distinction.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much time with this, but I have a newly acquired friend who has a food cart over on Old 82nd Avenue in front of a tire store.
Okay.
It's in Clackamas County. It's irrelevant to us, but I asked her a whole lot of questions about what she's been doing, and she is allowed to have customers go into their business and use their bathroom. She's allowed to use their power.
Okay.
And she has a garden hose that she does her, I don't know if she does dishes or whatever on site. But it's not really considered drinkable water in her case. But the other thing that I asked about her is it's Hispanic food. I asked her how much cooking she does at home in preparation to bring to the cart. And there lies a problem because Clackamas County
doesn't allow that. Yeah.
Your kitchen becomes a commercial kitchen.
Yes, we've definitely heard that from residents here who've wanted to do things. Yeah.
So you have to do all your cooking in your cart.
Yeah. Yeah, which we can't make any changes to that piece of it.
Right.
But that is interesting information to know that she's able to use hose for water, electrical connection from the building. Is she with other food carts, or is she solo?
By herself. And she's been there for 3 or 4 years now.
And does she still have wheels attached to it? Do you know?
I believe so.
Yeah. So she's maybe more in that first category of what we're
But she
looking
never
at.
moves. I mean,
Yeah, right.
She's been there for 3 years.
Right. And with the mobile vending unit, you wouldn't have to. So that would be kind of the more temporary. Does she, her gray water and stuff, does it tank or does it go into the sanitary system? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like it's probably more of the like starter class of mobile vending unit.
Yeah.
Although there's not a huge difference between what we have written here for mobile vending unit and food cart, except sewage disposal and grease interceptors. So this piece would require you to be connected to underground sanitary sewer and have grease interceptors for that.
Mm.
So that, again, we maybe don't even need this intermediary food cart. We could call the mobile vending unit a food cart, and then we could require the connections once you're a pod, once you're more than one food cart. Maybe it's really just two. Maybe it's like you're one cart on a site and you can kind of just be there and meet health and safety and sanitation requirements. Or if you want to be more established and be a pod with more than one cart, then you need to connect to utilities, put in some site amenities, that sort of thing, make it a little more permanent.
I agree with that. I think your middle category is kind of vague.
Kind of unnecessary,
Yeah.
maybe.
So then the first category is no matter what, you have to be standalone, self-contained. Or you can connect?
No, you could
And
connect.
movable.
Yeah, you
Movable.
could connect
Okay.
to utilities with the first
Okay.
category. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Is you're not mobile anymore. You could come in with a permanent cart, one cart. But I guess then at that point, we could change that second category to be, food cart or connected food cart or food cart pods or something like that.
Yeah, you kind of have like self-contained.
Yeah, like
not-
then you're separating it by how you're operating it more than. Yeah, I think that was the reason I thank you, because I did this in June right after our last meeting and then it's been a minute. But I think that was the distinction in my brain was, what if somebody wants to connect to everything and be a single unit? Could they do that? And maybe maybe we do need the 3 then. Or if we just had
Non-mobile?
a non-mobile vending unit. Because I don't want to get rid of the ability to still get the permit to come around town. That stays. So then we could do, a non-mobile vending unit.
Mhm.
I wonder if we would need to limit the size of that. Because then at what point are you like actually kind of a store or a
Another
business or
building.
something?
Mhm.
And I'm just a non-mobile vending unit. I'm not a food cart or
Maybe at some point you have to be able to move it where it's, you have to be able to put wheels on it.
yeah.
Mhm.
These are great questions. I'm glad we have another month to think about this.
I'm really sympathetic to the owners of these carts.
Yeah.
too, being self-employed for as many years as I was. They're going to find out within a year whether they can make any money at this.
Yeah.
And if we make it too hard on them, they're not going to come.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
absolutely. I think we want to preserve the mobile vending unit type thing that you can just come in and kind of get started.
The
And you're not
independence
connecting to our
of it.
utilities, so we don't have to charge you utility connection fees and SDCs. You're just kind of coming
Right.
in, making sure you have all the safety and health permits, get the city permit so we know you're there and start operating. Like that,
Mhm.
we want to keep that level for sure.
Yep.
It's just like, is there an intermediate level that says, okay, I want to connect to city utilities. It just seems easier than having to haul my wastewater off. But I still only want one of these. How do I do that? But so is there an intermediate? Because if you go down to the food cart pod language on page, I'm back. I'm in my Word document now. If you scroll to 3-7, And we're saying now we want to cover dining area, some pedestrian connectivity, a couple bike parking spaces, and a little bit of landscaping and trash enclosure. Is there a level where you can connect your cart but not have to provide those things? And that's how it's written right now. Like you could come in and connect your cart and pay our fees for our utilities, and it's still just one cart. And then when you have more than one cart, we want you to do that connection now, and you can provide these amenities as well.
Yeah, I don't think they should have to provide amenities with just one cart.
Yeah, that's how I wrote it there.
Right.
Okay, so I think we do need the 3 levels. I've talked myself back around in a circle. Okay, but we need stronger clarification about that you can maybe connect just to one if you're just looking to just have sewer disposal, but you want to have the water tank still. That's and that is how this is written, that you could still do that. You could have a water tank. This doesn't seem to indicate in my quick reading of it that you could connect to public water, which I think you could if you paid the right fees. So we need to add that. So now we have you're a mobile vending unit, or you're a food cart that's connected to one or more utilities, or you're a pod that has more than one unit, and now you need to provide amenities and hook to public utilities. Okay.
I want to bring up another thing in that water hookup to a meter is really quite expensive.
Yes. Yep.
I don't want to force people to do that immediately.
Right.
I
So
mean,
they would be able to not do that in that.
As
first.
long as you leave the water tank
Yeah.
availability. If I was a food cart person, I wouldn't spend the thousands of dollars to get a meter.
So you would say, even in the pod where you have multiple carts, would you want to keep that option for?
I wonder about our existing pod down here at the end of the street.
They're connected to public water.
Are they?
Mhm.
They have their own meter?
The whole site does,
Okay.
because it's owned, the
That
site is
includes a
owned.
grocery store, doesn't it? I mean, there's a lot going on that one little lot.
The grocery store is next door.
Okay.
So they are separate, or the masala box, that's on the
Mhm.
next door property.
Okay.
So the tap room and the 4 carts are all in one property
Okay.
that's owned by, an ownership group. And then the
And
pods are leasing the spaces.
Yeah.
But there's a note here that they can remain self-contained for some utilities. That just by adopting the food cart standard and creating the ability to build a deck does not mean that they then have to take all utilities. They can
Okay.
still
They
keep a
can
water
choose which
tank,
utilities. All right.
Yeah.
as written. Yeah.
That's fine.
So if we talk about the pods, so now oh yes, Commissioner Brennan.
I don't want to make this like too complicated, but I think there needs to be some kind of metric to include the local water purveyor for like at least some sort of routine inspection
Yes.
or permitted type inspection.
So if it's self-contained too, or if it's connected to water?
Connected to water. Yeah.
Okay. So if they connect to public water, so if they come and connect to public water, they go through Public Works, and they're either Oak Lodge or City of Gladstone Water, and then they pay a connection fee, potentially a meter fee if they don't already have one. And then Public Works will charge them an SDC. Do we need to have language in here beyond that because then they're on the radar with Public Works?
Okay.
We need to spell something.
Probably not then.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, because if like a building gets built and they go through that process and get their SDCs and their water connection, that is just covered under the city's water system then, right? And then if there's meter readings or inspections, those are all built into the connection time.
Mhm.
Does that seem?
Yeah, or maybe just make sure that like if a property is going to add a cart and they have some type of connection, whether like it's a hose or something, that still be subject to.
Yeah, subject
sort
to
of
the
inspection,
public,
yeah.
the water authority review.
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, to move on to pods. Okay, so I threw in some base level amenities based on our conversation in June, which was covered dining area. I made it pretty vague. This may be indoor or outdoor space that has a weather protected seating area. So I didn't say you have to be able to seat, 4 people per cart. I didn't make any metrics on it, just like where's your covered seating area. And then pedestrian connectivity from the public sidewalk, making sure it's safe to get to the carts. A minimum of 2 bicycle parking spaces per cart shall be provided. We do require 2 per business in our parking code anyway. And then I threw in 5% of the food cart pod area shall be landscaped, and that potted and container plantings could count toward this. Our typical design review standard is 15%, so this is a third of that, so that we get some greening of the site, but we're not trying to make it too extreme. And then utility, trash recycling, and restrooms need to be screened and spaced at least 10 feet from residential zoning district, unless they're within the building. What are comments on that? And that you can use trash and restrooms from a building located on the same or adjacent property with documentation of a access agreement.
There is a comment in here that no noise producing utilities such as generators, whatever
Mhm.
else. I think if we end up changing that on our food cart,
Uh-huh.
would we want to then
Oh,
replicate that in
space it
this
10
one?
feet. Mhm. That's a great catch.
For the covered dining area, could they just have little tables with umbrellas? Or would they have to build a structure?
Well, I did write weather protection. So would an umbrella does give sun protection, but does it do rain? So I don't know if we need to make this a little more specific. I didn't put on my clear and objective hat because we're not talking about residential standards. So we kind of we can be a little loosey goosey, but I'd like to know what you all envision if I'm the one approving these.
I think to start, not requiring them to build something like a shelter would be more accessible for
Yeah.
somebody.
I think a
Mhm.
pop-up canopy,
Mhm.
that's what
Sure.
you can get a couple tables under that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like the intent with wanting something like that is, I mean, we live in Oregon, right? We live in
Yeah.
Portland, outside of Portland, and we are gonna get weird weather all of the time. And
Yeah.
having a place where when we're walking out and it's 75 in spring, and then we've got a thunderstorm, having somewhere where we can still, well, most of us are outside still anyway. So I feel like the intent is like, if somebody wants to come in and build some fantastic pergola
Mhm.
canopy, great, wonderful. But I feel like the intent is still just an area to get away for a moment. So I feel like
Yeah.
even if it is like a pop-up canopy or an umbrella, I feel like that, as far as like where we're starting, fits
And
the bill.
when I was
Mhm.
reviewing the notes from our meeting in June, someone mentioned that they didn't love the Hawthorne Asylum, and I feel like it lacks a place to like get weather protection or like really gather with. The seating is kind of around a big thing that you can't get into, and it's a little bit covered, but you can't really sit with like a family of 4 or 6 like together. And I feel like that might be what you're part of the vibe that's not quite hitting right. So I like that. Yeah, 8 months out of the year we have questionable weather that could
Mhm.
be wet at any time, but we're most of us willing to give it a go if we can sit under some sort of cover. So the other thing that's occurring to me is, once we get these standards in place and hopefully we get a few businesses wanting to try it out, if it's truly something where it's like, wow, that site would be so amazing if we just had some sort of cover, like maybe at that point it's talking with the city about like some economic development, like how do we want to support this business site, that kind of thing too.
We are talking about uses allowed outright, so I do think I would like to see a higher standard that we pull back from rather than a lower standard that then we're like, hey, can we find some pocket change in the city's budget to help them build a canopy? And I don't know if that means moving that up from wherever 2 or more carts are gathered to 3 or 4 or 5. But right now, as it's written, you get a 6-cart pod and throw up some picnic tables and umbrellas, and that's good enough. That doesn't seem like economic development or building out the city.
Thoughts on that? What number of carts maybe that would be appropriate?
Or could you do a ratio, a certain amount of seats per cart when it's above a certain number?
You could, I think, to Commissioner Weiss's point, maybe defining a little more clearly what the cover is, like,
Yeah.
because even if you put up 8 pop-ups and could seat 100 people, is that what you want when you have 10 carts, right, or something like that?
Right.
I think we definitely could say that too, make it a little more clear that, 4 covered seating areas per, space for 4 people per cart or something like that. But then it's, what can the covered areas be and what do they look like? And is there some threshold that they hit as far as the size before you want something a little more permanent looking?
And if we need to include something about like permanency, I'm just thinking like if it's a pop-up canopy, do we need to write in a way so that it's not going to get blown away, lifted up? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, it's not a food cart pod, but coasters, right? Out back in their patio, they do pop up, canopies and umbrellas.
Yeah.
And they do it in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, because like, we do want to set it up right.
Yeah. I just wonder if Arlington were there without the bar in the back, like, would that feel like an upgrade to Gladstone if that was not there, which would be possible with this? Put some porta potties in the back and
Right. Exactly. That, if you can picture that.
Or could they get away with just handing out umbrellas?
Well, we do say a covered dining area, so the area has to be covered, not the person holding the umbrella. Maybe maybe 2 carts, not such a big deal, but maybe 3 or more carts. You must have a hard structure cover for a minimum of 4 seats per cart or something like that.
Yeah. Would that then be on the owner of the property?
Yeah, well, all of these amenities probably would be, because now you're talking about landscaping, bike parking, the trash receptacles, the garbage. So whoever's developing the site would be responsible for that.
And
Yeah.
I think that makes more sense too, because if you have like 3 food carts coming in and they're just kind of all their own little.
Yeah, it would be whoever's pulling those carts together, property owner,
Yeah.
developer.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
can
so
imagine
if-
they'd probably have the resources or so. It's not the cart owner trying to build a structure.
Yeah, so if we think about, we don't have a lot of just vacant sites, but maybe a site that's not being used all that much, or and they say, okay, we want to put a cart on here, and we're like, great, and you meet one of these 2 criteria, and then another cart comes along and we're like, oh, sure, now you're a pod. And they're like, what, but there's already a cart here. It's probably like, okay, well, we need to have a conversation with the property owner about what a food cart pod is, because now you're stepping into this criteria. And that's when we have those conversations and they make those decisions.
Yeah, like I'm just again thinking about the Milwaukee one that kind of came together
Yeah.
very gradually. And so I'm thinking of like farmers market where it's a very large tent and they have like several tables under it. I don't like if they're just starting out and there's no actual developer on the site, like say Gladstone at some point has some gravel lot. I know we don't have a lot of those
Yeah.
just hanging out, but if that did happen and could there be like a conditional use permit or some sort of alternate?
I mean, maybe what we say is, if you're a food cart pod, then we want a permanent covered dining area. If you want to do an alternate, maybe you get a planning commission design review at that point.
Like a design review light or something?
Yeah, like maybe we have an alternative pathway, but they have to show you that their plan is as cool as coasters and
Yeah.
as sturdy as, like they have to kind of come in and make their case at that
An
point.
incubator case.
Yeah, and maybe
like
that's
that, Val.
true. I'm trying to think if there are other standards here that we'd want to tip into that criteria as well. Like if you want to do less than 5% landscaping, if you want to deviate from any of these pod standards, you can come to the planning commission and present your case.
Sure.
Like we just can't provide all that bike parking and we want to do a sail shades that are completely impermeable, but it doesn't meet this criteria. So we'll come to the planning commission and prove to you.
I think that's fair because we let other businesses do that, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So sort of an alternative, more discretionary path. But for the straight path, we'll call it a permanent covered dining area, which can be wood. It can be, Okay.
One question I have is that 10 foot within 10 feet of residential zoning district. I think if my backyard backed up to one of these properties, 10
Yeah.
feet doesn't feel really far when
Mhm.
you're talking porta potties and the slamming doors and
Yeah.
garbage cans,
Generators.
generators. So I guess I kind of want to question that a little bit, the
Then maybe 20
distance.
feet more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look at the 20-foot setback and then I looked at our our downtown overlay standards. We right now have a 10-foot rear setback for like residential, which is not as impactful, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's where I came up with the 10 feet, just trying to put something in there, but it can certainly be 20 feet. The other thing I guess I was thinking is, at some point, most lots are about 100 feet deep. So if you go 20, you can still tuck it pretty deep on the lot. But is it 20 from, I guess we don't have a lot of lots that would be both sides residential. So you could potentially do it kind of closer to a commercial side over here, but you still have to screen it and all of that to the commercial property, but you'd have to pull it away from the residential.
Yeah.
20
It
feet
is-
seem-
Yeah, 20 feet. And that's what it's noted in the mobile vending unit one as well. At least the temporary restroom structures are not permitted within 20 feet of a residentially zoned property. So I think
Yes.
if we just carry that throughout.
Yeah, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay. I think I went back and forth between 10 and 20 and then I just didn't pick one at the end.
And I think generator sound level at the property line or something, when you all talk about generator,
Uh-huh.
I think even
Decibel level at property
Some-
line.
mild sound, but all the time is a disruption for next door residents.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think maybe then if along those same lines, light pollution, like if they have,
Mm-hmm.
they're probably not going to have the pole light.
We
but
already
if they
have a standard for that. Our
Okay, so
code-
it'll apply.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have and actually for sound too, although I'm not sure it gets to the levels that we'd be talking about with generators, but we have a requirement that your light not trespass off your property at a certain
Okay, perfect.
point. So we would
Mhm.
apply that. And we have had to do that on a car dealership on McLaughlin that got new lights and it was shining at an apartment complex. So we were able to work with the property owner and let them know they were trespassing with their light and they were able to
Mhm.
change it. So so we do have that in place and we've actually already done code enforcement on that type of thing.
Okay,
Good.
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, so the other thoughts that I had were, this is being inserted into the downtown core overlay language, which addresses all those C2 properties on Portland Ave. do we want to also have a reference in the C2 and C3 code sections that say food carts per section, per the standards of this section, kind of refer them back to this and allow those in those sections? And if we're doing C3 along McLaughlin, are there any of the food cart pod provisions that we want to relax? Or do I feel like these are pretty minor anyway, and that probably would look nice on McLaughlin and probably isn't too prohibitive?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could use a little more zhuzhing up of
Yeah.
McLaughlin. So again, if they wanted to.
Come to the
if
planning
so-
commission.
Yeah, if something presented a challenge to them, they could always choose the
Yeah,
design review route.
And McLaughlin's probably a more likely place that we might see another drive-through or something.
Mhm.
Which that's another good reason for keeping drive-throughs separate and going through design review, because then it allows us the chance to like talk with ODOT and like make sure that we're taking care of all the traffic stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll keep, I'll make it explicit that anything with a vehicle drive-through is not being addressed by these standards. Other thoughts that I can research or put together before our next meeting?
We have very little mechanism for managing parking in the city.
Right.
By the nature. This did come up during the development of Arlington Tap House, and I know that there are folks in the neighborhood who have issues with parking. By and large, I have seen parking available nearby within a block usually. But by making this development easier, we are introducing risk of more parking in that downtown core overlay.
That is a good point. I do know the city is working on some parking right now, has changed some configurations of parking and things to make sure that downtown core keeps adding to parking and the ability to do business downtown.
And then are these allowed with no front setback? Zero
Right.
front setback?
Yes, in the C2 zone, there's no front setback.
Okay. So if there are room to navigate on Arlington, there are some apartments with large setbacks that potentially they could put along the street side of those parking, as long as they were able to maintain. Actually,
They need to be C2 zoned to be able to put a food cart.
okay.
So are the apartments, they're probably zoned MR, the multi-residential.
Okay, so those ones that are in the downtown core overlay,
They couldn't,
they will not get this right.
unless they're zoned C2, which the one on Gloucester is zoned C2, the apartment complex there. I'm not sure about others. Anything right along Portland Avenue from the community center down to the river is zoned C2.
Okay. So it's not everything in the downtown core,
Right, it's not the R5 pieces.
not the R5.
And not, yeah. And in fact, it's not even the C3 pieces along McLaughlin. We'd have to reference it to
Right.
the C3 zone. So that, yeah, that actually, it was a good reminder for me going through this code, but back in page 17 of 30 or 3-3, it says under purpose that the purpose of the core, and then it says it applies to all properties with a zoning designation of C2 within the Gladstone Town Center. So it would only apply to those C2 properties, anything that's in the downtown core standards. All right, I think I have good direction on what to update, and I'll get some between meeting information to Commissioner Brennan to take a look at for the generator adjustable level. And then we'll plan to do one more work session, have another last chance to talk about this. I mean, not last chance if you aren't ready to move it on. It's not your last chance ever. But we are keeping right on track with our work program for 25-26. This is our last major item to accomplish. So if we have our hearing in October and City Council has their hearing in November, then that gives us time to start working on our work plan for the next biennium and get that to council. So we'll have a good job, Planning Commission. We'll have met our goals. And there was extra stuff thrown in on us, as there always is, like this from the state and that. So I think this team does a really good job of meeting the goals and exceeding them.
I would like to say one thing.
Mhm.
To address Commissioner Weiss's concerns about food carts. The margins for that kind of business are pretty tight. I don't think a food cart is going to just arbitrarily pay for something if they're not like intending to actually stay in business. If that makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Mhm.
Do we have any business from the public?
We do not.
Business from the Planning Commission. Commissioner Brennan?
Nothing really pertinent to tonight's discussion, but I would like to say congratulations to Commissioner Volbada
Thank you.
and congratulations to Commissioner Weiss also.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice working with all of you and thank you.
Appreciate
Chair Volbada, to you.
it. Chair. Commissioner Grau?
No, I would just say ditto and nothing else for me.
Commissioner Carlson?
Same, and thank you for accepting the appointments.
Yes, of course. Commissioner Busick?
I'm fine with this. I just want to thank Heather again for all the work you put
Yeah.
in on this.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Congratulations. It's a good presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you again. I feel like every time, thank you for humoring me with good conversation and kind of looking at everything from all angles. I will not be at the next Planning Commission meeting. I will be in Spain.
Oh,
heading
another
to Portugal
Spanish
to
trip.
walk for 10 days. Very excited.
Are you doing the Camino?
Yes.
That's what I just did in July.
Oh,
we should chat before you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to wish well to Natalie if you ever watch this. It was great working with you and appreciate you. There were a couple things that I wanted to cover. One, qualifications. There should be no more than 2 voting members of the commission that engage principally in buying, selling, or developing of real estate for profit or as an individual, or be members of any partnership or officers or employees of any corporation that engages principally in buying, selling, or developing real estate profit. So I just wanted to ask if anyone currently considers themselves to be in that group. It looks like we got one.
No.
Anyone else?
I am not in development anymore. I'm in finance. So
Okay.
you can just count me out.
Great. So that is important because the city council will make a decision to backfill that spot, and we have
Yep.
one person who is principally, so a second person could be principally involved in.
Good call.
So just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I did have a question about like where the mind of the city council is and whether there is any interest in talking about flock cameras and code as it relates to flock cameras.
This was on the radio as I drove in tonight. Do you know, Timmy? We meet regularly with Chief Schmerber, which will be Chief McNabb next month. The Chief Schmerber's retiring. I don't know if you have all heard that. So Chief McNabb would be the one to ask about that, and we can ask that at our next staff meeting, but I've never heard them talk about it, so I don't think it's been anything Gladstone has been using or involved in.
I did see on the flock tracker that there is a flock camera somewhere on Oakfield.
Okay, that's probably used by Clackamas County Sheriffs because it's county. Yeah.
Okay. But theoretically, that would be in the jurisdiction of the city council and maybe influenced by the planning commission. So potentially we can bring that up for discussion. And I don't know how the people of Gladstone are feeling about it, but I'd be interested to hear more.
Sure, we will run that through PD and administration.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I feel like there was one more about mine and the tide died, so I'll go next time.
Cool phone. So when would we work on our 2027 goals? Which meeting?
We will bring that to you in November,
Okay.
a draft of that, and then we don't have to have them final. We owe them in December.
By December.
Okay, so we owe them in December. So we'll bring you a list. I have a list already. It's
Great.
really, we will need to work on our housing needs analysis and our housing capacity studies, which hopefully we can get state funding for. So once we set it as a priority, the next plan will be to get them funded. So I think it'll be pretty housing heavy. And then, but as you have ideas, I'm happy to jot them down and keep a list.
Great. Yep, go ahead.
I remember my things.
Go ahead.
The Gladstone Community Festival is great.
That's what I was gonna bring up.
Congratulations. Thank you to everyone that worked on that. And then there is I think, city staff and volunteer party coming up.
That's exactly what I was about to. September, what day is the volunteer festival? That's, I think, out
I
back
think the
here.
17th.
Okay, that sounds right.
Mhm.
I think everybody got an invite in their city emails, but that is coming
Yes.
up next month. All right.
And I just wanted to let you know, we will be advertising for vacancy here on the planning commission. So if you know of anyone that's interested, we'll be putting that out and about on social media as well as our website. And just also FYI, we are, if you're interested in city council, August 25th is the deadline to submit your SEL 101. So just letting you know that as well.
Great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I said August 25th, my mistake.
That's great. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys voting me in. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Bear with me while I figure out the nuance. All right. Any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All right. Moved by Commissioner Brennan, second by Commissioner Busick at 8:54.
We got to vote.
Oh, do we vote?
Vote to close.
Vote to close.
Close.
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan,
exactly
Close.
7:54.
7.
Commissioner Grau,
Close.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Busick,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
Yes.
Chair Volbada.
Yes. Closed. 7:54.